I was in the 6th grade when I got my first cell phone. A shiny chrome Motorola Razr, the epitome of a cool phone in that time. It was a feeling like no other. It was the feeling of superiority. Having a phone meant you were in an exclusive group of about half the student population, a society that placed the utmost importance on a material object like a cell phone. But none of us thought like that back then, of course. All a 12-year-old with a phone thinks about is the different ways in which they can use it. That was ultimately what led to my own cellular demise, only a few months from the day I received my phone. In my blind obsessiveness one night, I lost my phone. Nothing out of the ordinary, I'd done it before. Only this time, my frantic searching paid no dividends. It was officially lost. My false self-esteem plummeted as my parents informed me that I wouldn't get another phone until high school, an impossibly long time away. But even through their disappointment, they saw the lack of logic in the situation. I mean, how could it just disappear? Eventually, they determined that I must have accidentally dropped it into the trash and not realized it in time to stop it from going to the landfill. This made no sense, as I was attached to the phone like a tail is attached to a cat. Since I truly couldn't find it anywhere, and since I didn't have a better theory, I accepted the reality that I didn't deserve a phone. Anyone with a phone in middle school knew to treat it like a fragile piece of art, and I had done the unthinkable. I'd thrown it away. Time passed, life went on, and I soon stopped caring about the phone. I was awarded a new phone, as promised, when I graduated middle school. The appeal had long passed, but I needed one anyway for high school. Fast forward 4 years, to my senior year of high school. My parents called me downstairs, along with my younger brother and older sister. "We're selling the house, kids. The move is next month," my father told us. A feeling of pure devastation overtook me. My childhood home, all I'd ever known, was being sold. My last night in that house was the last time I ever felt safe. Luckily for all of us, our new house was only a couple of miles away, and in the same school zone. The move went about as smoothly as one could ask for, only taking a day to move furniture, old and new. As we settled into our new home, the inevitable week of cleaning commenced. Vacuuming, dusting, unpacking, and, of course, organizing. During my lackluster dusting session on the first night, I noticed something small and thin under my dresser. I reluctantly reached under to grab it, and brought it into my view. It was my old Motorola. A wave of nostalgia overcame me, followed by embarrassment. It had been in the back of one of my dresser's drawers this whole time, and must have slipped out during the furniture movement. I walked over to my parents' room to tell them of my discovery. "You're not going to believe what I just found underneath my dresser," I said to my mother, getting ready to reveal it from my pocket. What is it?" she said to me while filling out some paperwork, reluctantly playing my game. "It's my," was all I could muster, as I realized what she was filling out. It was payment forms for the furniture company from which we bought some items from earlier. My dresser was one of those items. I hadn't even noticed. "You're what?" my mom said, looking up with a concerned tone. "My dignity," I joked with a fake grin, praying that she would pass it off as a god-awful joke. She didn't need to know about my discovery just yet. She forced out a chuckle and went back to her paperwork, clearly annoyed. How was this possible? A phone lost for over 5 years turns up in a new house under a new piece of furniture. None of it made sense. I returned to the privacy of my room to contemplate this freak occurrence. I held down the power button half-heartedly, knowing that there was no possibility of power. It turned on. After 5 years of dormancy, it turned on. The familiar wallpaper popped up, one of those generic flower pictures that comes with the phone. My first instinct was to check the contacts list and remember who I used to talk to. for nostalgia's sake. The list was blank. I didn't think anything of it. I assumed that a decommissioned phone would just delete its own memory. I'm not technologically inclined enough to know any better. I assumed this would apply to the pictures folder as well. I slowly navigated the ancient phone to the photo cache, where I discovered that it was still full of old pictures. This didn't line up with my theory about the contacts list, but all I cared about at that moment was seeing all the old cringy pictures I'd taken in middle school. There was a photo of me walking out of the store with my Motorola the day I received it, looking as proud and triumphant as ever. A photo of me and my old friends, enjoying a pizza at our favorite parlor. A picture of me and my first girlfriend riding Splash Mountain at Disneyland. I had forgotten about this picture. A moment of true joy and excitement as the 53-foot plunge is taken. My first girlfriend? This was impossible. My heart started racing a mile a minute. I hadn't met her until I was in high school. I had lost the phone over 2 years prior to high school. Then I realized why I didn't remember the picture. I didn't take it. In fact, no one could have. The positioning of the photographer would have meant that they were hovering in midair, right next to us. I scrolled furiously through the 8 or so pictures before that one. None of them were taken by me, and all of them were taken from an average height perspective, as if the photographer was invisible. I then realized that there were about 100 pictures before the picture of me at the phone store that I hadn't noticed. These were all from before I ever received my phone. In fact, these photos stretched throughout my life. My last day in elementary school, my brother's birth, kindergarten, preschool, all the way to my first day on this planet. All pictures of me, completely oblivious to my photographer. Being a rational person, I stayed up all night trying to explain this to myself. But obviously, to no avail. In the ensuing weeks, I barely slept. My family could tell I was in distress, but I wasn't ready to share this with anyone. I didn't have an explanation, but I knew inside me that this was nothing good. I scanned over each picture at least 100 times, looking for any kind of clue. What I found was anything but. While inspecting the final picture, a photo of me playing with my childhood dog, which was a year prior to the move, I noticed that there were more pictures to view. These had not been there before. 3 new pictures. A photo of me lifting a couch with my dad during the move. A photo of me taking a stressful math test only 2 days prior. And a photo of me laying on my bed, wearing an Anaheim Angel shirt and studying my Motorola. I looked down from my phone, horrifically realizing that the photograph was merely seconds old. I looked up into the corner of my ceiling, where the photo was clearly taken from. Nothing was there. I wanted to cry. My long-lost phone shows up out of nowhere, containing pictures that document my entire life up to that very moment. I was being watched. And had been being watched, and I was exposed in any and every setting. I noticed that the last photo contained a caption, typed into the picture in a strange font. The caption read,
3 pics per week.
I hid the phone in my dresser and tried to stop thinking about this unexplainable horror that had taken over my life, and the message I had received. It was another restless week, full of question dodging from my parents. Exactly 168 hours from the last batch of photos, I heard the phone vibrate from its hiding place. Vibration. This was new. I bolted across my room as fast as I could. I needed to see what horror awaited me. I opened the phone. Nothing. I checked the photo section with trembling fingers, clicking all the way to the end. Sure enough, there were 3 new pictures. This time, I didn't recognize any of the moments that were captured. Snapshots of myself in a doctor's office, myself sprawled out on my kitchen floor, and myself, very close up, with a blank expression on my face. No, not blank. Lifeless. I was looking into my own dead eyes. There was no doubt about it. All of the previous photos had been in recognizable situations from my past, but these made no sense. I sat there, struggling for answers, when I received one in the form of my mother's voice. "Make sure you go to bed early," she yelled from downstairs. "You don't want to be late for your doctor's appointment." I had forgotten all about that. Some clarity arose as I realized what the pictures were. Snapshots of my future. The implications of this truth were too much for me to handle. I wasn't ready to die. Not yet. I needed to know why this was happening to me, and what the hell this was, supernatural or not. After my doctor's appointment, which was in the same location as the photo had suggested, I went into my kitchen to get a snack. My parents were waiting. "The doctor called just now. He says you're under a huge amount of stress. Your blood pressure was considerably high. What are you not telling us?" asked my dad in a very concerned tone. It was time I told somebody. I needed an ally. "I'm being watched. Have been my whole life. I know this sounds crazy, but it's all true. My old phone turned up, and it's got pictures that document my whole life and possibly foretell my future," I told them, trying not to sound like a lunatic. The looks on their faces told me that I was, indeed, a lunatic. I needed to show them. "Hold on, I'll show you," I said as I turned around to go retrieve the phone that would assuredly prove my sanity. The next thing I know, I'm laying on the floor in the kitchen. In my delirious quest to prove myself, I had tripped on my own untied shoelace. In an instant, 2 of the 3 pictures had become a reality, leaving only the picture of my corpse left. I got up and sprinted to where my Motorola was hiding in my room. Upon flipping it open, the phone lit up with a message alert. A decommissioned phone had just received a text. The sender was labeled as the spokesperson. I opened the text.
Tell no one of the phone and its contents. Await further instructions.
Spokesperson for what? Or who? Whatever this spokesperson was, it had me under its thumb. It knew what I was doing, where I was, everything. I had only one option: to obey. I quickly rushed to my door and closed it, locking it shut. I needed time to come up with an excuse for my seemingly crazy behavior. I was locked in there for hours. There was no way I was leaving, not when my own doom was awaiting. My parents begged me to come out, to talk with them. A combination of pleading in a soft tone and banging on their door was their routine of choice. But then, they stopped. Glad for some peace and quiet, I tried my best to relax. Relaxing was near impossible, though, considering my predicament. About an hour later, as I was dozing off, a twig snapped outside my room in the backyard. It's just Dad, I thought to myself. He's gonna try to get me out through the window. As I was bracing myself for the inevitable shouting match that was about to occur, the Motorola buzzed. My blood ran cold as I frantically grabbed it and whipped it open, discovering another text from the spokesperson.
Duck.
Without a moment's hesitation, I hit the floor with all my energy, teeth clenched and eyes shut, bracing for something terrible. A deafening boom, followed by a high-pitched grazing sound, like when a ball flies past your ear. Ignoring the screams of my parents coming from inside my house, I looked up from my position to see the window shattered, and behind me, a bullet hole in my wall. Paralyzed by the fear of my assailant, I put my head down and gave up. What could I do against an armed gunman, sent by some supernatural group or person? Then, a sound I didn't expect. Begging, pleading for his life was the man outside. Shouldn't that be what I'm supposed to be doing? Please, I'm only doing my job. Let us take this one. Another will come up, I promise you, said the gunman. He was definitely crying. Not a sad crying, but the kind of crying that ensues when all hope is lost and begging is your only option. Then he started screaming. Easily the most blood-curdling, chilling scream I have ever heard. As if he was being tortured. Alongside these screams was a lighter, more sickening sound. Crunching. Eating. The gunman was being chewed up. When the screams finally stopped, almost 15 minutes later, I slowly got up and took a look out of my shattered window pane. A middle-aged blonde man, or the remnants of him anyway, laid on my backyard lawn. He was covered in his own blood, and his stomach was folded outwards. But he was alone. I ducked back into my room to prevent myself from puking. Was the future changed? Or was the snapshot still going to come true? From my dresser, the Motorola buzzed. It buzzed again, and again. I was being called. So I answered.
We've been watching you your whole life, documenting and assessing,
said a metallic voice, almost like it was distorted in a computer program.
We saved you tonight, not any of the others. You are a key in the struggle, and we need you. Remember what I have said. The council will assign you soon. Say your goodbyes.